No sugar, no flour. That's a really extreme way of eating. Hi, my name is Sippy Livne. I'm a nurse and certified food addiction counselor. And I would say that about 95% of the conversations I have with people, whether they are interested in detoxing from sugar and living sugar free or not, will at some point in the conversation call the way of eating with no sugar, like abstaining from sugar and flour completely, extreme. And I want to talk about this today in our weekly live. First of all, let's all agree that there is certainly something that is extreme in our day and age, which is the obesity and metabolic disease epidemic. The fact is that here in Israel, for example, and I think that this is true more or less for most Western countries, that approximately 50% or even more are overweight, and about a third of the people are obese, which is like a BMI of 30 or more, which means that they're really heavy. They're in a very large body, which I like that term much better than saying somebody's fat. And when it comes to diabetes, well, also it's in epidemic proportions. It is causing terrible loss of quality of life, functionality. It is harming people's quality of life physically, mentally, and also their families. Isn't that extreme? I'm going to tell you something else that is extreme. Actually, what's extreme is the way we are eating today. It's about 10,000 years since human beings have been processing in some way or another their food, right? Where we moved from hunter-gatherers to, let's say, agriculture, growing animals in order to eat them, planting plants in order to eat them. It's been about 10,000 years. In all those 10,000 years, until about 100 years ago, people ate very little sugar, and the flour that they ate from wheat was very different. It was not the flour that we use in our bread today. So basically, what I'm saying, and the fact of the matter is that until about 70 years ago or 60 years ago, people got to a certain height and weight when they went through puberty, like their sexual maturity, physical maturity, and they more or less stayed at the same weight until they died. And it was like millions of calories went in, millions of calories went out, and they weren't overweight or obese. Maybe some people were a little bit overweight, but not anything. So, isn't what's happening today extreme? Isn't it really, like, if you think about what we eat today versus what people ate until about 100 years ago, that's what's extreme. Until about 100 years ago, people ate either what they grew or what the local farmers grew, and it was not packaged, it was not processed, or if it was processed, it was processed minimally, and people knew what they're putting in their mouths. Today, most of the foods that we eat, that people eat and buy at the grocery store, they can't make themselves in their kitchen. It's basically been developed and engineered in a lab in a food factory. And it's not things that are found really naturally. Isn't that extreme? Like that we're not eating the way human beings ate for 10,000 years? Maybe it's extreme that children almost don't eat fruits and vegetables anymore. Their diet is made up almost of completely processed foods. That is extreme. Wouldn't you agree to that? So when people tell me that that abstaining from sugar and flour is extreme, this is what I would like you to think about. Actually, that's not true. Actually, the amount of sugar, added sugar, and flour that we eat today, that is what is extreme. The amount of processing that is done to our foods today, that's what's extreme. What we eat today is extreme. abstaining, no sugar, no flour, is basically going back to eating the foods that biologically we as human beings are programmed to eat. It's going back to the foods that we are meant to eat instead of the extreme way of eating we eat today. The fact is that until about 100 years ago, sugar was rare. People ate it mostly in fruits, and fruits were smaller, and they were seasonal, and they were local. There were fruits that grew in Israel and fruits that grew in Canada. And there were, and the berries came out in Canada where I grew up. Berries were in the summer and apples were in the winter. And in Israel, there were oranges in the winter. And in the summer, there was peaches and plums. But it wasn't like this where you can get basically any fruit from anywhere in the world in any amount. And they're big, and they're also already have been biologically enhanced to be sweeter and easier to peel and bigger. And so even the natural sugars that we eat in our foods today, it's not what it was a long time ago. But even that, you know what? If anybody eats fruit, there's fiber in it. It's great. Cool. But the fact of the matter is that our food supply today and the way we eat today, that is what's extreme. Not eating no sugar, no flour. And then I have another question for you. What about your relationship with all these, what I call SSH, sweet, starchy, and hyper-processed foods? Do you have a normal relationship with them? Or is your relationship so harmful that it's been extreme, that it's causing maybe metabolic disease, or it's causing you to be in a body that you don't like and that you're not comfortable in? Maybe it's causing you to gain weight. Maybe it's causing you to feel like you don't have control over what you eat, that like food controls your life instead of you controlling. If you have a relationship with food that is obsessive, that you're like constantly thinking about food, what you ate, what you didn't eat, if it was okay, it wasn't okay, when am I going to start my diet? Wait, should I start it today? Wait a minute, it's Sunday, it's still the weekend, let's start tomorrow. Oh, Monday, I have a really heavy week this week. No, let's do it on the weekend when we're free and we have time. That's not extreme. People didn't behave that way around food, before. And that's because all these hyper-processed, sweet and starchy foods are addictive. And some people develop a real addiction to them. And what basically addiction means is there's loss of control. It means that willpower doesn't work here. And it's extreme. And it can cause extreme harm. It can cause people to become sick and to become morbidly obese and to harm their daily functioning and the way they feel about themselves and how happy they are and their quality of life. Isn't that extreme? So here's what I say. If you feel like you have an extremely harmful relationship with food, especially with sweet, starchy, hyper-processed foods which are addictive, then maybe the solution is also a solution that is very clear and precise, which is no sugar, no flour, no hyper-processed foods, no foods that cause addiction. Just to go back to the real way of eating, the way human beings are supposed to normally eat, because of the way we eat today, the food supply today, if you look in people's baskets in the grocery shop today, that is not normal for human beings. That is what is extreme. Unfortunately, it is considered today in society normal because of a food culture that has been cultivated by for-profit, multi-global, multi-billion-dollar companies. And they have been directing our food culture to become extreme. And to think that eating real food and not eating junk food at all is extreme. That's extreme in my eyes. So here's the problem though. Because these foods are so addictive, really somebody who does feel like they have a very harmful relationship, like they've tried to controlled eating or eating these things in moderation and haven't succeeded in doing that time and time again. People, most people call me, they say, Tsippy, I can teach a dietitian good nutrition. Like, these people know what they're supposed to do and what they want to do and what is healthy and what is not healthy. And they want to eat in a healthy manner, and they do exactly 180 degrees from that, exactly the opposite. And they don't understand why. It's a real loss of control, and they continue eating even though they know it's causing them harm. So if you're one of these people who feel like that's your relationship with food, it's really hard. First of all, you should know that many times abstaining completely from flour and sugar is not extreme and is not really that hard. It's actually much easier than to try to keep eating moderately and failing time and again and time and again. So it's definitely worth a try. There's eating clean, eating real food, food that human beings were meant to eat, is many times easier because it lowers that craving, that like I can't not have it, which is what I suffered from for a long time. So eating real food is not extreme. And real food doesn't have in it sugar or finely ground flour that can make this food manipulated into a chip or a cracker or something crunchy and extremely, extremely tasty so that you just want more afterwards. Abstaining from hyper-processed, addictive foods is not extreme. It's actually going back to our roots, to the way people were meant to eat. And if you think that you're addicted to sugar and all these addictive, hyper-processed, starchy and sweet foods, then not only is it not extreme, it's also not that hard, because it's much, much easier for many people to abstain completely than to try to eat a little in a controlled or intuitive way. Some people just don't have that intuition in them. I don't. And living sugar-free and without these sugary, starchy, hyper-processed foods has freed me to live the life that I want to live, because I am not obsessed 24/7 about food, which means that I do have to maintain it. And in many times it's hard to learn this way of life, especially today when our culture and our environment is so harmful to like healthy eating, and is so what's called obesogenic, which means it basically promotes obesity. So it's hard many times to do it by yourself without support. And many times some people need professional help to be able to do this, and a lot of support, and really to change your relationship and the way you think about food, which is something that probably we all should be doing, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon. But we can all start, each of us, with ourselves. So I would definitely say this is something to think about. How normal, how moderate is your eating really? How normal, how moderate is your relationship or the way you eat all these sugary, starchy, hyper-processed foods that people say it's so extreme to abstain from them? Well, are you eating them in an extreme way? Are you eating them in a harmful way, in a way that's making you sick or unhappy, or, just not living the life that you want to live because of these foods? Isn't that extreme? So maybe it's time to try a solution that really takes you back to your roots. So this is Tsippy Livne, and I want to wish you all a great week and a great day. If you liked this video, please share it and like it, and give a comment below. Tell me what you think. And if you're watching this on my YouTube channel, then please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification button so that you can get notified every time a new video comes up. Thank you for listening. Have a great day. Wonderful week. Love you guys. Bye-bye.